Hey devs, this is Utkarsh slash DeUth on Twitter. I'm a DevRel engineer at Mantle. Really excited to have you on board and glad that you are showing interest to get onboarded onto Mantle's testnet. This will be our very first walkthrough, which is based on the various requests and the questions we've been receiving from the community. Without wasting any other further time, let's go through the various topics that we will be covering in this short walkthrough. I'll try my level best to keep it short. So quickly running through the agendas for the day, or let's say for the session, it is that we will be covering the prerequisites to start. That is adding Mantle testnet to MetaMask, acquiring DeUth and Bit tokens, so that we are able to interact with the smart contract and also the other dApps which have been made on the testnet. Then we will be actually coming to one of the most exciting parts of the session, which is the deployment of the smart contract itself. Which will be done using Remix IDE. So I'll be giving you a quick rundown as to what Remix IDE is. Then I will also be telling you about the deployment of the smart contract, the basics as to what is happening, and also we will be also interacting with the smart contract as well. So yeah, once we are done with that, we will also be reading the contracts on the Explorer. Right, we will see as to how Mantle's testnet Explorer looks like, and also what all information we are able to find about the contract from the Explorer. Cool. Without wasting much time, I think we should dive right into it. Let me just share my screen really quick. Cool. I think now my screen will be visible. We can actually dive right into it. So yeah, even before getting started, just a note, I will try my level best to go as slow as possible, but then make sure, as this is a walkthrough, and then I'm pretty sure people will be looking at it, feel free to pause the walkthrough in between, right? And then try to follow the steps. I'll make sure there's a long-form blog about the same walkthrough attached in the description below as well. Also, all the links that I'll be using in this walkthrough, they will be in the description below, so you don't have to worry about copying and pasting it from somewhere else. All the materials required to go through this walkthrough will be available in the description. I think now we can get started. So first of all, one of the prerequisites is before we start deploying any sorts of contract is adding Mantle testnet to MetaMask. So firstly, you need to have MetaMask installed on your browser itself. Let me share the link. I'll share the link in the description. Let me just copy the link myself. Yep, MetaMask. You can download the MetaMask extension from here. It is pretty easy. Make sure you're opening your MetaMask. Right? Now what you do is, let me shift my MetaMask in middle of the screen this time, because I'm pretty sure my video would be on the top right hand side. So let me do that. Yep. So hopefully my wallet is on the center of the screen. I think so, yes. So what you have to do is click on your profile picture, go to settings, and go to networks. Once you go to network, all you have to do is that you have to click on add network. It will take you to a new screen altogether, which is fine. For some extensions, it might not take you to a new screen, which is fine as well. Just make sure that you're following the same steps. Then click on add a network manually. Cool. I already have this information stored with me on my clipboard. I'll just copy and paste it from there. You'll also have the access of this info that we're typing in. Just make sure to copy and paste it correctly, and try not to leave any spaces before starting out as well. Starting the text. Yep. Once this is done, okay, it is saying that this URL is currently used by the Mantle testnet network, which is fine because I already have the testnet with me. So what I can do is, okay, how do I remove this? Let me switch my network and then remove this. Yep, works fine. Let me copy and paste it Again, yep, now it should be working. Click on save, and there you have it. We have successfully added Mantle testnet manually to our MetaMask. Now that we have a Mantle testnet configured with MetaMask, we can move on to acquiring bit tokens and also getting some GE that will be needed as gas in various steps. Now, for acquiring native bit, since Mantle testnet currently lives on Goerli network, you will need to acquire G before you can start bridging your tokens, right? So we'll go through the whole thing step by step. First is to acquire G through Paradigm Faucet. The links will be in the description, no need to worry about it. Paradigm Faucet, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so let me just sign out really quick. Yeah, so this is how the landing page of the Paradigm Faucet will look like if you're trying to use it for the first time. Sign in with Twitter. It will ask you to approve. I've already approved it, so it wouldn't ask me again. Then go to your MetaMask. Copy your wallet address, right? Just click on this link below. Not link, I mean click on this account button. Sorry. Just copy the, click on it and it gets copied. And paste it on this search box or the blank space over here, right? And then all you have to do is click on claim. Yep. So as you can see over here on the top right corner, or if you cannot see, it is showing that I have already taken tokens or claimed tokens in the last 24 hours. So you can only claim token once in 24 hours. As I was doing a similar walkthrough yesterday on Discord live, I did it live, so it is like almost like there's almost like 2-3 hours more to it. So by then, I mean, it doesn't make sense for me to wait because I already have the tokens. But then, yeah, for the first time users who are able to take it, they'll be able to they will be able to get all sorts of test tokens that is required. You can also see as to what tokens you're getting in this drop. So 0.1 ETH, 0.1 WE, then 5 NFTs, ERC721. So yeah, you can just check it out as well. Now, now that we have done this, the next step would be to acquire bit tokens, right? So for getting the bit tokens, you need to go through the Mantle testnet faucet. Links will be in the description as well, right? So what I'm going to do is, let me just check if the link is there. Yep. Right, it is over here. Okay, so the first step would be to connect it to your wallet over here, right? And I think I've already connected my wallet, but then it will still ask me to switch to Goerli network. Yep. So we click on switch network. Hopefully it was visible. I have to keep dragging it out my screen, but then it's fine. Let me just check again. Yep. So the step 1 would be to authenticate your Twitter. Just click on authenticate. Authorize app. And you should be good to go. Let me select the amount of tokens that I want to mint. 200. Mint. I am opening my MetaMask. Yeah. And it should ask me for some sort of gas. I confirm the transaction. And cool. Please expect bit on your address within half an hour. Cool. We wouldn't be waiting for half an hour, and usually we get it by like 1 to 2 minutes. I won't be waiting because I already have done the step and I have bits in my wallet. So we'll be moving on to the next step. Feel free to drop comments below or also directly reach us out on Discord. Let's say if you have any sort of doubts in any of the steps, right? Now the third step would be to actually bridge your ERC20 tokens, that is the bit tokens that we had, through the Mantle bridge. Yep. So I was going to say the Mantle testnet tokens through the Mantle bridge. So yeah, let me just copy this link. Okay, Mantle bridge. We open Mantle bridge. Wait for it to open. Cool. So my wallet is already connected. Let me disconnect it so that we can go through the steps again. So the first step would be obviously to click on this top right hand corner which says connect wallet. So we click on connect wallet, we click on MetaMask, and it should be connected directly. So one of the things to make sure is that you should be on the Golly testnet, because we are bridging the tokens from Golly to Mantle and not the other way around, right? So yeah, if you want to bridge ETH, you can go ahead and bridge ETH tokens that you have gotten, that is the GETH, and then you can also bridge the bit tokens. Yeah, as you can see over here, it's a drop down menu. Okay, so yeah, make sure that you know, I mean, this is for everybody to know that this is a drop down, right? I had seen multiple questions where people were asking, I don't see bit over here. So it's a drop down menu. You can see as to whatever you have on your wallet over here. Select bit. I want to transfer like 100 bits. Deposit. Initiating the deposit. Yeah, as you can see, I have to confirm the transaction. I confirm the transaction and it is pending. I wait for it to happen. It might take 1 to 2 minutes, right? But again, like I said, I already have the bits and G and the tokens already because I've done this multiple times. So I wouldn't be waiting and we'll be moving on to the next step. Feel free to pause the video as in whenever you want. Okay, yeah, by the time we were talking, it's already done. So we are on this, I think we are, if you're viewing this and then you're trying to do and deploy the smart contract at the same time, I think we are going hand in hand. I mean, there you have it. Like your bits are now available for everybody to test out. I mean, obviously you to test out and interact with various dApps being built by developers. And yeah, like also before we dive into interacting with various dApps, let's look at a very simple tutorial to deploy smart contracts on the Mantle testnet right away. And also don't worry, this is way easier than it sounds. When it comes, yeah, okay. So when it comes to deploying the smart contract, we are actually using Remix ID over here. There are multiple ways you can do it, but because we wanted to make it as beginner friendly as possible, so we tried to do it via Remix. There are multiple IDs as well where you can try to deploy a smart contract as well, and that would work out. So let me just share my screen. Hopefully it is already shared, and let me just open Remix. Cool. So a very quick rundown of the Remix ID and the interface. So this section is actually called the icon panel. This is actually called the side panel. And here where the code is displayed, this is actually the main panel. And the one below, it is actually called Remix interface, right? In the main panel, on the top left, sorry, you can see an icon which is basically headphones, right? Just click on it, and that will directly take you to the landing page. For multiple folks, like there have been instances where they directly don't land on the landing page, and that gets them a little bit yeah, so they get confused as to what is happening. Just click on it and yeah, you'll be on the landing page. Also make sure on the featured plugin section, Solidity is checked in, because we need the pre-made smart contracts for this tutorial, right? Also a pro tip would be that once you are well versed with the Remix ID, there might be multiple plugins that you want to use. You can actually enable and disable multiple plugins from this plugin manager, which is at the bottom left corner over here. Cool. Now let's start with deploying the smart contracts, right? Now, when I say deploying smart contracts in Mantle, it can seem like a very big task, right? But in this guide, we are trying to cover the basics of deploying the contract with simple beginner-friendly tools. We will show you how to compile them, deploy them, and also finally how to interact with them. So given we are just getting started, and this is one of our first walkthroughs, which is also pretty short. For this walkthrough, we will be focusing only on one contract, which is one storage.sol. You can find it under contracts, artifacts, and there you have it, one storage.sol. Let me just click on it here, over here. So storage.sol is a very simple contract, and it does just two things. It stores a number on chain via function store. It reads said stored number via function retrieve, right? We are just storing a number and then we are retrieving a number. That's it, right? Yeah. Also, now that we know that what this smart contract is doing, all we need to do is that we need to start compiling, right? So to compile the contract, all you need to do is go to the Solidity compiler section on the icon panel. It is this over here, right? And then you have to click on compile storage.sol. Okay, even before we begin, make sure that on your MetaMask, you are back to Mantle testnet, right? Because we want to deploy our smart contracts on the Mantle testnet, right? So we will be linking our account at the next step, the step just right after this. So make sure you're already onto the Mantle testnet and not the Golly testnet. Cool, makes sense. We compile the storage. Let me just check. Yep, it is compiled. Yep, you will be getting a green check mark like this over here. Cool. Now that your smart contract is compiled, let me also show you if there's an error, how the whole interface would look like. Let's say if I remove the semicolon from num, it should ideally give me an error. Yeah, see, it gives me an pass error. It was saying that it expects a semicolon, but it got a bracket instead. So we're going to put the semicolon back. So all of the errors will be displayed in the bottom left section. Now that we have compiled a smart contract, we can deploy them on Mantle testnet. So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to click on deploy and run transactions icon on the icon panel. Cool. And also this is pretty important. You need to click on, let me just, yep. So the environment has to be the inject provider, right? And also you have to make sure that even when you're on inject provider, you have to be on Mantle testnet and not Gorley. Yeah. Cool. Given we are on Mantle testnet, it is, I think we are doing it right. Yes, we are. Let me just check. Yep. Now all that is left is actually to deploy the contract, right? Once you have selected the inject provider, make sure that it is your same account that is connected, that is the wallet, right? And you select deploy. Once you hit deploy, open your MetaMask. Yep, you can see we need to confirm and sign the transaction. Confirm. Contract deployment is pending. So we will wait for the contract deployment to be successful, and once it is done, it will be something like this, because I've deployed multiple contracts before as well. So it basically turns green and shows you the current date. Yep. By the time that is done, make sure, if let's say your MetaMask isn't popping up on its own, make sure to just go hover over to your extension panel and then click on the MetaMask, because a lot of time it doesn't happen. But then, unless you sign the transaction, it wouldn't get deployed, right? You need to confirm the transaction on your MetaMask. You're still waiting for it to be deployed. By the time it is deployed, we can actually check onto our block explorer as to what is happening. Let me check it out. you can see we are directly going onto the Mantle's testnet explorer. And oh yeah, so let me just switch my headphones really quick. My headphones have died. Cool. It isn't a walkthrough if nothing happens. Let me just change my settings really quick. Cool. I think everything else is looking fine, right? Cool. Now that we can, getting back to the whole thing, now we can see that on the block explorer, it says it is confirmed. The result as success status is confirmed. It also gives us the block number and also the timestamp as to when it was confirmed, right? So let us check. Go back to Remix. Open our MetaMask. Let me put it in the middle of the screen. Yeah, so you can see the most recent activity was contract deployment. It was pending before. Now we can see that it has been done. Amazing. So yeah, one of the other things, I actually didn't want to open the Explorer now, but then I just wanted to confirm without wasting any time as to is it confirmed or not, or is there any sort of error which is happening. But then I think we are on the right track. Cool. Now that we it has shown successfully and everything is on the track, let me just check. Yep. So yeah, first of all, congrats for deploying your very first contract on the Mantle testnet. You have compiled the smart contract and you have also deployed it on the Mantle testnet. As we could see from the transaction itself, it took us to Mantle's testnet explorer, and we could see the block it was created and also the timestamp when it was created. Yeah. So yeah, congrats. Also now, coming to one of the most more exciting parts of the session would be interacting with the smart contract. That is what we are going to do next. Now, in the deploy contract section, you should now the deployed contract section should be actually populated with lots of information, right? If you expand on the contracts over here, you should be able to see more information, right? So what is happening over here? If you go to deployed contracts, just the icon just beside it on the right side, it says copy. If you copy it, it is the actual address of the contract which you have just deployed. We are going to use it a little later once we are done with interacting with the smart contract, right? So what is this store? So like I said, this contract that we compiled, it actually does just two things. It stores info and it displays an info. So under store, just write any number that you want your contract to store. Let's say I want to give it 26. Okay. Make sure that you're heading over to your MetaMask. Confirming the transaction. Pending. We'll wait for it to happen. And by then, yeah. So like I was saying, this Solidity, the smart contract that we had written, it just does two things for now. But then eventually we'll be scaling up. We'll be trying our level best through scale up through the walkthrough sessions, and then eventually create our own custom contracts. That is the end goal. We are happy to help and make sure you're dropping us any sort of questions that you have throughout the walkthrough, or any sort of questions or doubts you have for even other sorts of things that you might be using, or any sorts of other IDE. Feel free to tag us there. Cool. If you can see my screen, the transaction is actually done, which is pretty amazing. So the store function that we called, it is actually confirmed. Cool. We will also confirm this by going on to Explorer later, But then now we can also test if it actually worked by calling the retrieve function. So just click on retrieve. It says call from this block to storage. This is actually our wallet address to store.receiver, which received the value that has been stored, which is actually 26. See, so yeah, we are on the right page. We are actually yeah, cool. Yeah, I was just looking at the terminal for a second. But then, yeah, I think everything looks good. We have deployed successfully, and then we have uh, interacted with the smart contract as well on the Mantle testnet. Yeah, now I think that covers everything that we wanted to. Before we move on to Explorer to explore as to what all information we can find about the contract. Congrats for deploying your very first contract onto the Mantle testnet. If you have any doubts, again, feel free to ping us on Discord, and our devs and our support team will be ready. I will also be there to answer any sort of questions, right? Amazing. Moving on to reading the smart contracts onto the using the Mantle Explorer, right? So let's try and explore all sorts of info that we can find about the smart contract which is deployed on Explorer. First, let's go to Explorer, right? Where is Explorer? Cool. So the Explorer web page right now for testnet, it looks something like this, right? All you need to do is go back to your EMX ID. Under deployed contracts, right? Under deployed contracts, you can see there's a copy icon over here. Just make sure to copy. It copies the smart contracts address. Go back to your Mantle Explorer and then paste it over here. Yeah. So one of the main reasons why I keep the Explorer thing on the end is because sometimes it does take time for the smart contract to show up on the Explorer, but then it eventually doesn't on the Mantle testnet. It is pretty fast. But then, yeah, sometimes due to congestion or maybe anything else, it might take some time. There are also instances where MetaMask API is not able to fetch it in real time. There might be certain instances like that as well. So that is why in between I was going onto Mantle testnet to check if our contract was actually deployed onto the testnet. Cool. Now let me check as to what is happening. Cool. If we go to the transactions tab, this is important for us, at least at this stage, to understand. You can see our contract was actually created. Who created the contract? This will be your wallet address that is there, and also the contract where the ID was, the contract ID where the whole thing was also created. But then one of the things to look at is you can also check the block number, which was also given during the transaction as well. It was the contract was created 9 minutes ago, and then we also had a contract called just a few minutes back after, right? So we did two sorts of transactions as well, where we had to approve those transactions on MetaMask as well, if you remember. Cool. Also, if you want to play around a little bit, one of cool things to try out is obviously you open your MetaMask, make sure you're onto the Mantle testnet, and then you copy your own wallet address and see as to what sorts of transactions have been done. Cool. So I have it. If you go to the tokens tab, it will show you as to what all tokens are available, right? It tells me that ERC20 type, there's 3 sorts of token: Bit token, Clown, and Ether. And also under transactions over here, you can see the same sorts of transaction that we made out. Our contract creation was there, and our contract call was also there 5 minutes and 7 minutes ago. So yeah, if you feel like playing around the Explorer a little bit more, then you can definitely check out as to token transfer, tokens, internal transactions, and play around as to with others deployed contracts on the Mantle testnet as well, and check as to what is going on there. Would be really cool to look at some insights that everybody's able to find, and what all information they are able to get. But then, yes, thanks again for tuning in to this short walkthrough, right? And then, yeah, like even before anything, like congrats again for deploying your very first contract onto the Mantle testnet. Here, actually, we've covered basic onboarding by setting up the MetaMask, adding Mantle testnet to it manually, followed by getting GETH and some bit tokens for the smart contract deployment. Also, after deploying, we interacted with the smart contract, which was basically a mutation function, and we were storing a value. We've also even covered Explorer basis and checked if the smart contract was actually deployed on the testnet, and furthermore, the various transaction calls that were made. Apart from that, yeah, hoping this walkthrough was a good start to getting onboarded onto the Mantle's current testnet. We encourage everybody to start building cool dApps and any sorts of projects that you have in mind onto the Mantle testnet, and reach out to our team with demos and any sorts of questions. Remember to keep your keys private. Obviously, now nobody from our team would ask you for your keys ever. Keep building, keep shipping. We feel free to reach out to us on our Discord. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.